We particularly are proud of our association with BETT for the BETT Awards. BESA invented BETT 26 years ago, and it's still going very strong. And so the awards have grown up alongside that major international ICT event. So why do we do the awards? One, we want to highlight the education supply industry from an ICT point of view. And we believe quite strongly that the UK education supply industry is very much a leading light in the world. People come to the UK to find out what we do and what we do best and what we have to sell. And that's particularly to do with how schools use ICT, not necessarily just the equipment, but how they use them, which is what Colin was talking about before in terms of the link between practice and the product. So the BETT Awards are constantly changing. That's the interesting thing about the BETT Awards. We work with BETT in order to work very closely on the criteria. And I'd recommend anybody, as Colin has said, if you're going to set up awards, to be very clear about what your criteria are. I have to say to you that you'll never win on those because people will always complain about them. The big thing about awards is that people do take them very, very seriously, and they get passionate about them, and they get very upset when they're not shortlisted or they don't win. Because, of course, if you spend your life making a product, it is the very best product, isn't it? You have to believe that. And you do strongly believe that yours is the best in the entire world. But the trouble is when other people start to look at it, they may not have exactly the same impression as you. So the criteria are very, very important. They have to be robust. They have to be absolutely clear as to what judges are looking for. And as Colin said, the second thing is that those judges have to be people who people would admire and respect. And they are all educators. And from our perspective in the industry, obviously, working with educators is vital because working with educators means that we get the information in order to be able to provide the next round, the next wave of educational supply, whatever that means. And that's really one of the reasons why educational ICT has developed in such an innovative way in this country, because we have a kind of free and open market, and that free and open market has led to competition, and that competition has led to innovation. So companies constantly in competition with each other, they always have to outdo each other in some way, and so that's why we have so many innovative products, and you'll see those at BETT later in the week. So the criteria are very important, the judging process very, very important. And as Colin said, I think from an industry perspective, it's absolutely vital to get the feedback. Now that is invaluable, that product development, marketing information from frontline educators is worth a lot of money, really, to companies, and yet they get that as a part of entering. And so they get the feedback from teachers about what works, and they're also very positive about their products, but also what doesn't work from their perspective. And an awful lot of companies don't like that. They don't like to be told that something doesn't work, because obviously they strongly believe it does. But if you have a whole group of educators in the room and you work with educators, and you know they are the most critical of people, and they don't put up with things very easily, because why should they? Because if you're using technology in the classroom and you have 30 young people in front of you, you can't afford to put up with things that don't do what you've bought it to do necessarily. So the feedback is absolutely essential because it holds the industry, in a sense, to task. It helps the industry to be critical about itself, and so in being critical about itself, it moves itself forward to the next round. So it's not about being self-satisfied. And I think the last point is that from an industry perspective, because we're working with BETT, and BETT have their particular priorities over the years, which Colin has mentioned, and the awards for BETT have to reflect those, the awards themselves are constantly changing, and those can drive the market. So, for example, over the past few years, we've had e-assessment. When we started the e-assessment award, the first year, I think we got very, very few products. And the next year, we got an awful lot more because people realised that this was something that was being looked at both by a government agency and by teachers. And so the awards can help from an economic perspective. The last thing is really about what you do with them. And I think Colin's absolutely right there in terms of having awards. It's great having awards. Everyone enjoys themselves. It's usually a very good night out when everybody celebrates. It is a celebratory thing. It's important for companies. They take it very seriously because they can use that data. If they have an award, it's something that they can use in their selling process. And from an educational perspective overseas, often it's a mark of quality. And that's what we're looking for, a mark of quality. And the publications that BETT also produces with the other partners in the awards, which help people to understand how that mark of quality has been reached, are vital. And they're vital because they assist teachers in being able to purchase products. One of the challenges we have in this country is that knowledge of, what am I buying? Why am I buying it? And being able to make those right choices is, I think, a really important thing, both for our industry, because these people are customers and they need to be satisfied, but also from an education perspective, because they need to be able to make the right choices for the young people in their classroom. So the awards are both critical for the industry, but I also think critical for education. From an international perspective, it assists you to see what we are doing best here. So rather than facing hundreds of products in terms of a quality mark, you can see that the shortlisted products, often 6 or 7, are seen by educators as being the best software, the best hardware, the best digital devices, the best e-safety products, the best management products that are out there at this particular time.